Things feel a whole lot more unified, but no less quiet. Whereas yesterday, Sanders supporters were booing at the mere mention of Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine.
Really, two scenes. To my left here is where the people have been gathering, forming a walkway here for people coming out of the arrivals.
This is an away game. The game is in Vegas, and tens of thousands of people filling the arena.
What connects those two cases, even though they're across the country from each other, is as small as this cotton swab. Controlled chaos here at Lafayette Square as thousands of counter-protesters have filled the northern part of the park to meet what was a greatly overestimated crowd for the Unite the Right marchers. I've been told that what you're looking at here probably looks like a blue tarp to you on the TV, but let me tell you, this is hard plastic. People were worried that there might not actually be any cherry blossoms this year, but as you can see today, they're now in peak bloom.
Two spots for this scene. Just around this brick building here is where the initial crash happened. This is one of the biggest nights in terms of speakers listed. It's kind of why the floor right now is packed like a can of sardines.
We start continuing to track Hurricane Florence, the latest path now far enough to the south that D.C. has canceled its state of emergency, but it is still threatening the Carolinas and southern Virginia. Senate Republicans voted today to advance to the next step in their effort to repeal and replace Obamacare. The vote to move to a floor debate was 50-50 after senators voted, meaning Vice President Mike Pence had to cast the tiebreaker. Senator John McCain, returning from Arizona following his surgery, cast the necessary vote for the motion after two GOP senators sided with the Democrats in opposition. Right now, it's not clear what the final bill will look like. He went back there this morning to get that classic oversized check, and Martin went ahead with the cash option. You normally get a choice of how you're going to get the payout. He went cash option, so that means $6.5 million before taxes. Still nothing to sneeze at.
Oh no, that's a nice little chunk of change.
I would
Big
say,
chunk of change.
I would say so. I wouldn't want to carry that in my pockets.
This was a targeted attack on the Capitol Gazette.
Anne Arundel County Police Acting Chief Bill Cramp describing Thursday afternoon shooting inside the offices of the Capital Gazette newspaper on Bestgate Road. He says the shooter came into the building where the offices were, used smoke grenades, then opened fire with a shotgun.
This person was prepared today to come in. This person was prepared to shoot people. His intent was to cause harm.
Bethany Clasing works on the floor above the newspaper.
I was just in shock when they said, like, I heard it. I didn't think it was gunshots at first, but then I heard the police and I was like, it has to be gunshots.
Phil Davis, a reporter at the paper, tweeted afterwards that there is nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you're under your desk and then you hear the gunman reload. Reports of the shooting came in shortly after 2:30 in the afternoon, and police arrived within 60 seconds. Annapolis Mayor Gavin Buckley says that quick response likely saved more lives.
I met the officers that were there on the first, and they talked to me, described to me how they stepped over bodies to go towards the scene and found him under a desk. And I think one of the shocking things, the weapon was to the side.
Police say the shooter is a white man in his 30s from Maryland, and they're looking into the possibility that he has a history with the newspaper. And Cramp adds, as late as today, there were threats made against the paper on social media.
They indicated violence.
And late Thursday night, police identified the 5 victims of the shooting, all employees at the Capital Gazette. They were Wendy Winters, the special publications editor, Rebecca Smith, a sales assistant, Robert Hyacinth, the assistant news editor, Gerald Fishman, the editorial page editor, and John McNamara, a staff writer. For the 31st morning in a row, Rob Jones sits in his RV and prepares for yet another marathon.
Believe it or not, they hurt. I have certain spots on them. It's mostly the skin that hurts.
But while most just have to throw on a pair of shoes, for Jones, there's a bit more to it.
Put my prosthetics on and make sure that they're as comfortable as possible.
Jones is a United States Marine Corps veteran. In 2010, while in Afghanistan, a landmine took away most of his legs. But instead of slowing down, he became a Paralympic rowing bronze medalist. Then he rode across the U.S., raising money and awareness for wounded veterans. This month of marathons, as he calls it, is a continuation of that mission.
It's an honor to be able to run for my fellow veterans.
But he hasn't done it alone.
Every time that I come out of the RV and I see a group of people there waiting for me to start running so they can join me is a meaningful moment for me.
In each city, dozens of strangers like Scott Shelton from Annapolis have joined him.
Anytime someone who's gone through what he has gone through and suffered in such ways and done it voluntarily is a remarkable thing.
All right, let's do it.
And for several hours, runners looped from the base of the Lincoln Memorial, along the Tidal Basin, around the World War II Memorial, and back to Lincoln. And while one Lincoln watched over the runners, another Lincoln was in the pack. 9-year-old Lincoln Shelton says he wants to be a Marine like Jones and is learning from his journey.
I have to be brave, and no matter how hurt I am, keep on serving.
For Jones, he says all this support is the greatest compliment.
Can't think of a better way to end this mission than today. And I just want to say thank you, all of you, for coming out in the freezing cold to help me prove that, no veteran is alone in this country.
And shortly after 1 o'clock this Veterans Day, far from alone, this Marine finished his mission. The sounds of the batting cage and dog park return this Saturday afternoon to Eugene Simpson Stadium Park. Less than 80 hours after 66-year-old James Hodgkinson opened fire on Republican politicians practicing baseball here before being shot and killed by police. Some people, like Charlie Kellett, came to reflect on the violence of that day, what may have led to it, and how to move past it.
What's important is we're hearing from both sides of the aisle the importance of dialogue. And there's been a lot of negative rhetoric just flying around, and we've got to move beyond that. We've got to focus on what matters, which is our community.
While others at the park search for the bullet holes left behind.
But that's exit. That shows you what damage it can do.
Trying to imagine how the gun battle played out.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right.
Next door at the YMCA, members returned to work out behind boarded up windows that had been shot out.
It was kind of eerie, walking in and just going, ugh. It doesn't feel the same.
Greg Snyder says he came outside to the ballpark after his workout to try and wrap his head around the whole thing.
Knowing that he was here, the shooter was here, I don't know if I saw him, because people around here pretty much keep to themselves.
Police say Hodgkinson had lived in his van near the park prior to the shooting and had frequented the YMCA. Former Alexandria Mayor Bill Ewell says he saw and talked with him frequently, and Ewell adds it was a traumatic day that could have been a lot worse.
But it's time now for us to all come together, heal from this, respect, love, kindness over hatred.
It's not going to be done. It's not going to be done.
There's little confidence coming from Kiara Jones about the likelihood management will fix all the problems the county's fire department has listed about the two buildings.
We are here to prevent a tragedy from occurring.
The fire department says it's been talking with the new management since 2016 about the problems, and it's now reached a critical point. For residents, it's the first they've heard about it.
It's just, what else coming?
Among the fixes needed, a working alarm system, properly secured doors. Jones showed us at least one door where the latch was hanging off it. Fire Chief Benjamin Barksdale says it's an issue of safety.
We've all seen how much of a disaster that we can have with a building that is not sprinklered, and then the conditions as these buildings are.
Barksdale says there are about 100 residents in the building, but that could be higher as there is a squatting problem, which also needs to be addressed. All vacant units have to be locked and the trash piled up inside and in the hallways cleaned out. For Jones and others, they say they're preparing for the worst.
We're trying to get out of here. My neighbors across the hall, they're trying to get out of here. Nobody's trying to stay because we know they're not going to fix it.